All right, good afternoon, everybody, on this wonderful Tuesday afternoon, and welcome to the Purpose Pioneer Talk Show. My name is Jessica Timms, and I am thrilled to be with you as once again we get into another amazing conversation about purpose. If you don't know me, I am a presenter as well as a producer and a collaborator with the Change Collective Africa. And over the past few weeks, we at the Change Collective Africa have been using this moment to help us all think about what are our motives, our core philosophies, the things that we believe in, and the motivating drive behind everything that we do, which essentially is our purpose. And if you need this moment, we're hoping that the different people we interview, from them being activists and doctors and influential South Africans, we're hoping that this will inspire you to think deeply about purpose. So I am just going to quickly let our guest in session today. He is the CEO of the SPCA, and his name is Moyo Ndukwana, and I'm really thrilled that he's joining us at the moment. Hello, Moyo. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Jess. I'm well. How are you doing as well?
I'm good. I'm good. I hear the president is addressing us tonight, and I think we're all crossing our fingers as to what he's going to tell us. So just waiting in anticipation, really. How has your afternoon been?
Well, it's always a busy day for us. Animal welfare, it's a passion-driven environment.
Yes, indeed. While you're mentioning the fact that it's a passion-driven environment, a lot of people have been asking us, why are we having this conversation? And I think the mere fact that you've been passionate about animal welfare for over, I think, the greater course of your life, that you've been working with the SPCA for more than a decade, I think you are actually the perfect person to speak to us. One thing I wanted to know from you was, what informed your sense of purpose so early in your life to know that you love working with animals?
It's a very interesting question because when we grow up, there's things that we get attracted to based on
Yeah.
our exposure. And then there's things also that we find ourselves that those items actually attract us. So there's an element of attraction. And if there's effort, then you're working too hard. But for me, working with animals, there was no effort. I just knew from a very young age that this was a natural inclination in my heart, and even up to now. And I do think actually even for the rest of my life, this is my purpose in life.
Do you remember the first animal that you loved? Do you remember their name or where you saw them the first time?
Well, obviously I was still young, growing up with my grandparents. That was the early formation, and all the animals that were at home as well.
Okay, what type of animals were they? Were they pets? Was it farm animals?
It was a mix of both. It was a mix of both. But later on, as I grew up, then I just realized actually that I've got a strong affinity towards cats.
Towards
So
cats.
yeah, funny enough, actually. So yeah, it's like animal welfare. It's something which you have your own natural inclination actually. So yeah, it's something that that's my natural happy space when I'm interacting with the cats. And you might see also even in the SPCA picture as well, that it's a
Yes.
picture of me. So that's where that formation is all about.
For
Although
anybody
you
who's
love all.
Yeah, for anybody who's wondering what picture we're talking about, there's a wonderful article. I think there's a Cape of Good Hope, a place where they do different media, and I think they did an article about you, and you were standing there, this grown, stoic, strong man with this beautiful little cat.
Yeah.
And it was such an amazing sight to see that, I mean, purpose is such a varied thing, and all of us can be called to something outside of ourselves that can drive us for the rest of our lives. With your purpose and what you found to motivate you, have you found it to be an anchor in difficult times, and what are your thoughts on that?
I think the biggest thing is once you've found your purpose or meaning, it's no longer a struggle to do what actually you were born to do. So at times, actually, you find people struggling because they are not happy with what they're doing. But if
Mm-hmm.
you are happy with what you are doing and where you're working at, and you know what your purpose is, that whatever you are doing for a bigger cause or even for something bigger than your own life. Like for us, actually, animal welfare, it's much bigger than our lifetime. There is going to be animals beyond my life, but I have to make sure that during the time that I am still alive, that I can say that I fulfilled my purpose.
Wow. I've heard that the SPCA is currently working as an essential service during the lockdown. What are the essential services that the SPCA has been offering during this time?
Well, it has been a very, very busy period. Um, a couple of cases that I can mention. One is there was an incident that the inspectors dealt with where a parolee abused his neighbor's dog with a golf club. There was also an incident where someone actually, I think this was also publicized a lot, where the SANDF brutally actually shot and killed actually a person's dog, which is just a kilometer from our base here. There was all actually, we have seen actually even blatant cruelty and neglect actually by our fellow human beings on our animals.
I think it's extremely disturbing to hear that. And I think, you know, forgive the fact that I think as human beings, all of us have been focusing so much on us and our own health and what's happening, you know, people all over the world during this challenging time of the global lockdown. But to hear that there are creatures who are suffering during this time is quite disturbing. Moyo?
Yeah, yeah, sorry. There was a break in the feedback.
Yeah.
That's where actually where purpose comes in, because there is a disconnect where our life actually seems to impinge on the lives actually of animals. Well, the whole thing is about harmony between human beings and animals, like the health of the environment, the health of humans, and the health of animals. That whole ecosystem needs to be kept in balance. So different aspects and also even different people and different passions. But I do think that this world can be a better place if we all live lives that are fulfilling, purposeful, and also meaningful.
You mentioned something about our ecosystem as a planet, where it's not human beings above animals or animals above plants. I mean, we all need to just do our part and be responsible. And we like to say something where making money doesn't matter if the planet isn't around. Have you noticed anything interesting from corporate South Africa or from businesses in response to looking after animals during this lockdown?
We have had, it hasn't been actually at a bigger scale from corporate, but it's been our supporters rallying in, coming into our aid, and also chipping in actually even. There's a lot of, we had actually the Two Oceans Marathon, which is one of our fundraisers. That event was cancelled. So obviously from a donations perspective, as people would know that the SPCA is not funded by the government, we rely actually on the generosity of the public. So having events being cancelled, it also has an impact even actually on our operational deficiencies. And also that's why
Really?
it's very important actually when the public actually even rally with us, and even in this time actually of lockdown, we can prove it. Lockdown or no lockdown, cruelty to animals continues unhindered, unperturbed, because we're dealing with human beings.
I saw on the SPCA Instagram profile, you guys were saying thank you to Ultra Dog SA for donating dog food. And I thought that that was such an amazing contribution. If South Africans who feel right now we're all locked up and we don't know what to do, how to contribute to causes that mean something to us, if we want to be of assistance to the SPCA in any way, how can we do that?
Well, the easy way is going to be going to the Cape SPCA, capespca.co.za. That is our website. You can interact with us even on our Facebook. We've got a very active social media team. There's so many ways that you can engage. And remember, a donation is out of the goodwill. We all have purpose. And this is the time actually where instead of looking inwardly, we need to look at how we can help others that are less privileged and also maybe less fortunate actually than where we might be. Right, we've got animals where we've got owners that are calling us maybe in a moment of distress because of the effect of the COVID pandemic. So the SPCA is going to be available to those animals. Maybe as everybody would know, our motto is that no animal should suffer. So we wouldn't want actually a call for an animal in distress to be ignored, or even for us not to be able to come to that animal's aid. So the support from the public, it might be just a bag of dog food, but that will mean the whole world to that particular animal that does not have food for that particular night or even for that particular day. But if we all come together and every bit and every donation does come or does go a long way in helping and assisting in our scope of work.
You spoke about animals in distress. For anybody who's not used to conversations about, the welfare of animals, when you say an animal is in distress, what do you mean? And can it only be big line distress where an animal is being abused, or you're talking about other levels where perhaps just the things that animal owners do that distress their animals?
I think we need to look at it actually in all spheres. The common one actually is just the physical abuse of animals. How about the emotional trauma that actually we subject our animals to? Like for instance, the use of fireworks. We all know actually how much trauma that causes even to the animals. As human beings, and as in all the conversations in the medical world, mental health, mental well-being, all these conversations are being spoken about. Have we ever thought about the mental well-being of animals? And if we are to subject our animals into conditions actually that are contrary to their natural behavior, that is actually a form of actually abuse. And we all need to be cognizant of the fact that animals did not choose which owner they are going to end up at. We chose the animals. And at times it's much better for us actually, for a person not to have an animal than actually for the person to have an animal and be abusive to that particular animal for the sake of saying, I do have an animal. So we need also even to change even our framework about what does it mean to love an animal. It's not about ownership, but it's about recognizing the privilege and the sentience that animals also feel actually when we interact with them.
You just said something so powerful about it's not about ownership. So what will make our relationships with the animals that we have or animals in our neighborhood, what can inspire that relationship? I saw on your page, you guys were also talking about an animal behaviorist who was speaking about the different ways that animals can eat. They don't just have to eat in a boring bowl. They can actually eat in different ways that might stimulate their mental health. And maybe the problem is that as human beings, we don't think that animal mental health is important and that it makes the world a better place when animals are happy.
Well, we talk of cruelty and it's got two forms. One which is deliberate and the other one is due to ignorance. So the SPCA has got a policy that actually it's education before prosecution. So at times the way in which we were brought up, the way in which we are framed, it almost like sets up actually as to this is the course of the world in which we live in. So we need actually even to stimulate these conversations about ownership, that it is a privilege, not a right. And also that if you don't have the time, the resources, and even the facilities to have an animal, you're better off actually without having an animal. We need to change actually even the mindset and even our thinking as to what does it mean to be the owner of an animal.
And while we're on the topic about, responsible ownership of animals, have you noticed anything that stands out to you in terms of people adopting animals and fostering them during the lockdown?
Well, obviously, for the SPCA, adoptions is regarded as a non-essential service. And also, the concept that we spoke about earlier on, the health of the environment, the health of animals, the health of humans. So right now, we've got a specific targeted focus towards human health. So by opening up adoptions, we're increasing the flow of the public into our premises. That also it exposes actually a lot of people into risk. So we have also even to be a responsible citizen and also even be a responsible organization and take measures in place, not only to protect our staff, but to protect actually even a broader amount of the community at large, because each person, we interact with at least 5 or 6 family members at any given time. So if one person is to be exposed, we also have to mitigate actually and show even that not only is this about animal welfare, but it's about being change makers in society, being change makers even in the communities that we interact with, and even also integrity in everything that we do as the SPCA.
We had I think it was in 2018, we had a campaign called Kind in Action, where some collaborators with the Change Collective had brought cakes to public servants and to those who would be working in service of the public during the December holidays. And I really think that we need to, hopefully when the lockdown restrictions are a bit eased, we need to bring you guys a cake, because as you were speaking, I thought about, but right now, how is the staff at the SPCA doing? How are you guys doing? Are you feeling a bit restricted in what you guys do? What is the feeling at the moment with the staff?
Okay, well, it's remember, this is a cause, and you've got a vision that pulls you, and it's a force that's greater than what you can explain. As to how do you explain the fact that actually you can be driven by such a cause that it's bigger than actually your wildest imagination, that seeing an animal in distress can keep you awake the whole night, and tomorrow morning be able even to go back to work and be able to do that day in, day out, 365, and year after year for over a decade. I've given my life to this organization, and it is something which is so fulfilling. So words cannot express actually the purpose, finding purpose and meaning in your own life and getting to know what it is that you were born to do. And once you've discovered that, it's almost like it's the train that has found its tracks. It's difficult actually for it to be taken out.
We've got before we get to your last thoughts about what we've been speaking about. Riska LaRue says this man deserves the biggest cake, and I fully agree with her. Chantal says yes, take the SPCA a Kind in Action cake. So we're gonna make that happen. Let's just go through some others. We've got Tobile who says, so insightful. Ignorant abuse levels are high. Education is vital. As I just scroll down a little bit more here, looking through, okay, Simon was actually asking how and when did your love for animals begin, but I remember you did speak about that and growing up at your grandparents' house. We've got Blade 38 who says government should support you. Do you still wish that you could get the high level support from the government?
It all comes down to resources. We will not be able to fulfill our mandate without resources. We need resources in order to do what we need to do. And also, as we know, the decline in economic performance means there's going to be a greater need of people in the welfare sector. And the SPCA comes into the welfare sector. So resources are going to play a very critical part going forwards actually after the effects of the COVID. So we need actually the support from the public, even post-COVID and even during right now, because we are going to be picking up a lot of pieces, people that are now struggling. It's not fair for a person who, because he's lost his job because of the economic downturn, to be dispossessed of his animal. It even breaks actually even his heart. And also for those people that love their animals, for them being able to look after their animals, it gives them actually even a sense of meaning and even a sense of love. As they say, like any person who has not interacted with an animal, a part of his soul remains untouched and also unchanged. So there is something that you'll be missing out. But once you've got it, you've got it.
I really, Moyo, want to thank you so much for your time that you shared with us to have this really insightful discussion. And my parting question to you will be, where would you ideally like to see a purpose-led, and it's already purpose-led, where would you like to see the SPCA in the next 5 years in its fullest, best capacity?
Well, at each and every corner of our metropole here in Cape Town, for us to be able to have at least 50 inspectors who are going to be out there giving proactive education so that we don't do actually reactive cruelty. And as I was saying to you, that there's two aspects to cruelty. One that is actually negligent, and then the other which is actually ignorant. So we need actually even to have more foot soldiers on the ground, more inspectors. We can only do that if we've got support from the public and we've got more resources so that we can go even to the schools from a very young age and even catch them while they're still young, teach values of compassion, empathy, and even just to create even a kinder world. My vision for this SPCA is for this SPCA to be a change maker in the communities that we deal with.
And on that note, thank you so much to you. Thank you so much to the SPCA, for Yaku, who made this happen. I know he's probably there in the room with you. But just
yes,
thank
yes,
you.
yeah.
Yes, thank you so much for your time. And what I will take from this is that the SPCA does not act alone. We all need to buy into this vision and share in it with you and the organization. So thank you very much, Moyo, and I wish you a wonderful Thursday.
Thank you so much. And we really appreciate actually having us on the show as well.
No problem. And thank you guys, everybody who watched today. If there were any questions that you had asked and I didn't cover them, I'll make sure that I go through them in the question box. Please do tune in on Thursday. We will be speaking to Paul Bushell. He is an amazing psychologist who has written some great work about raising your children through changing times and through an evolving world. So I look forward to that discussion. Thank you guys so much. We will see you again on Tuesday. Bye.